Are you mad? The voice cracked across the parking lot, followed by the sound of a slap so sharp it cut through car horns, footsteps, and chatter. Heads turned. Security froze. Cameras flashed. The woman's head snapped to the side, her cheek burning. Gasps rippled like waves. How dare a ragged stranger strike Amara Okoye, the most powerful woman in the country? The billionaire oil executive. The woman on the billboards. The single mother who had conquered boardrooms. But before fury could rise, before anyone could react, crack! A bullet tore through the glossy SUV where she had been standing. Glass exploded in glittering shards. Guards ducked. People screamed. Another shot sang past her ear and chewed into the wall. Down! Someone yelled. The same man who slapped her, a man in a torn brown coat, beard rough, eyes too calm for the chaos, grabbed her wrist and pulled. His grip was firm. His voice low. Stay low. He dragged her behind a concrete pillar. Amara stumbled in her heels, heart thundering so loud she could barely breathe. That sting on her cheek. That sting was life. That slap was mercy. Another bullet. Closer this time. She turned to see his face. Tired. Weathered. But steady. He didn't look afraid. He looked like a man who had already seen too much. Who are you? Amara whispered, her voice shaking. You'll understand, he said. But first, drive. Bell, hello family. Welcome back. Before we dive deeper, I have one small, heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive, keeps voices like Jonah's from being forgotten. And I'd love to know, where are you listening from? Drop it in the comments. Let's keep building this family together. Amara's driver was gone. Guards scattered. Chaos everywhere. She gripped the steering wheel herself, her fingers trembling. The stranger slid into the passenger seat. Calm. Too calm. Seat belt, he said. Amara's heart pounded as she pressed the push start. The engine growled awake. Tires squealed. Sirens began to rise in the distance. Not the main gate, he whispered. Left. Now. She turned, barely avoiding a security truck. The billboard outside smiled down at her, her own face, fearless. But the woman behind the wheel was not fearless. She was breaking inside. Talk, she demanded. Now. The man looked into the rearview mirror. His voice came slow, steady, like he was chewing on pain. My name is Jonah Dyke. I'm sorry about the slap. But the bullet was already coming. Her throat tightened. How did you know? I heard them last night. Under the flyover. 2 men. They said a woman in heels would stand by a black SUV. They said if she turned her head right, the first shot. If she hesitated, the second. I watched. I shouted for you to go back. You didn't hear. I had no choice. Amara swallowed hard. The sting on her cheek was still there. But now it burned with meaning. Why risk yourself? She asked. Jonah didn't look at her. He kept his eyes on the mirrors. Because I know what it feels like when no one stands for you. The SUV sped through Lagos traffic. The city roared around them. Life went on as if bullets had not just shattered hers. Amara blinked back tears. She had fought for her company, for her son, for respect. But she had never been this close to death. Thank you, she whispered. Jonah nodded once. Calm. Steady. Watching the mirrors. Always watching. Then Amara's stomach dropped. 2 motorcycles slipped into the lane behind them. Black helmets. Dark visors. Not weaving. Not overtaking. Just following. Her voice cracked. Do you see them? I do, Jonah said. Keep driving. Whatever you do, don't stop. The motorcycles didn't weave. They didn't honk. They didn't blink. They just followed. 2 shadows on wheels. 2 predators in the night traffic of Lagos. Amara's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Her palms slick. Her pulse wild. What do we do? She whispered. Breathe, Jonah said. His tone soft, almost like a father calming a child. In, out. In, out. Don't show fear. Don't rush. Keep the lane steady." Easy for him to say. Her chest was caving in. Every honk of a danfo, every crack of a keek's exhaust felt like a gunshot. "Why are they after me?" Amara finally asked. Jonah's eyes never left the mirrors. "I don't know names. But I heard one thing. They said no CEO, no speech, panic in the board. They said stock would drop before quarter end." Her breath hitched. The Seagate deal. Billions at stake. Enemies circling like vultures. "You expect me to believe you just overheard?" she asked, her voice sharp, brittle. "I didn't just overhear," Jonah said. "I listened. I didn't sleep all night. I watched the rooftops. When I saw you step out, I had no time. So I slapped you." Silence. Heavy. Unshakable. That slap again. That sting. That mercy. Amara gritted her teeth. "I should have been dead." "But you're not," Jonah replied. His voice was low. Final. "And that means something." The light ahead turned red. Cars bunched together, trapping her SUV in the middle of the lane. Vendors rushed forward with sachet water, gala, groundnuts. "Keep the windows up," Jonah warned. One hawker pressed against the glass. Amara waved him away. Her eyes darted to the mirror. The bikes edged closer, like wolves circling a herd. "Jonah," she whispered. "I know," he said. "Next turn off. We'll lose them there." The light turned green. Amara pressed forward, forcing calm into her trembling hands. The SUVs ahead moved slow, too slow. "Now," Jonah said. "Take the next right." She turned sharply. Tires screeched. The motorcycles followed. The road narrowed. Small shops lined the sides, tin roofs and hanging bulbs glowing against the dusk. A metal gate up ahead stood half open. "Don't stop," Jonah said again, his voice steady but urgent now. "Roll through. Slow. But don't stop." Her throat was dry. Her eyes fixed on the gap. She eased forward. The gate man raised his hand to wave, then froze when he saw the bikes. The first motorcycle slipped through behind them. Smooth. Silent. "Duck," Jonah ordered. She ducked. The shot never came. Instead, the sudden wail of a siren split the air. A police car barreled into the narrow road from the other end, blue lights flashing. The bikers faltered. One swerved. The other kept steady, visor black, hand reaching into his jacket. Jonah's jaw tightened. "Gun." Her stomach flipped. Before she could react, Jonah rolled down his window. He didn't hesitate. He hurled his battered brown bag straight at the biker. It smashed into the rider's chest. The bike wobbled. The gun slipped from his grip, clattering against the asphalt. Sparks. Screams. The bike toppled. The rider skidded into the dust. The second biker swerved, steadying again, his engine growling like a beast. Amara's chest was heaving. Her cheek stung. Her world spun. "You threw your bag," she gasped. "That was everything you had." Jonah's reply was calm. Too calm. "I'll find another bag. But I won't find another chance at life." They burst into a larger road. The police car stopped to handle the fallen rider. Amara pulled into a fuel station, chest heaving, sweat soaking through her gown. For the first time since the slap, silence wrapped around them. She leaned her forehead against the steering wheel. "I should be dead. I should be dead right now." Jonah sat back, hands empty. "But you're not," he said softly. "And that matters." Amara lifted her head and looked at him. Not the mud-stained coat. Not the hollow eyes. The man. The protector. The stranger who had stood between her and death. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why would you risk yourself for me?" Jonah's jaw worked. He looked away, toward the passing faces of hawkers and bus drivers. "Because I know what it feels like when no one stands for you," he said at last. His voice cracked but did not fall. And in that moment, Amara Okoye, billionaire, mother, fighter, saw Jonah Dyke, the homeless man, not as dirt beneath society's feet, but as the only shield she had. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Leave a comment, Tell us where you're listening from. We love hearing your voices. The mansion was never quiet. Not really. Even at night, Banana Island hummed. The hum of security radios. The shuffle of guards at the gate. The whisper of water from the infinity pool. Luxury always had a sound. But tonight the sound was wrong. Sharp. Metallic. Angry. Crash. The back gate rattled like thunder. David, little Chinedu, yelped and clung to his mother's arm. "Mommy, what's happening?" His small voice cracked. Amara's chest tightened. "Stay close to me, Chinny. Don't let go." Guards rushed past, rifles in hand, shouting orders. The air filled with static and panic. Jonah Dyke stood near the staircase, shoulders squared, eyes scanning like a hawk. He didn't move like a visitor. He moved like a man who had lived in danger too long. "Amara," he said, voice low, urgent. "This house is not safe. They're coming for you." Her lips trembled. "No. This is my fortress. Look at the guards, Jonah. Armed. Trained. Paid." Jonah's jaw tightened. "Paid? Yes. Loyal? No. Money buys bullets, but it doesn't buy hearts. If they're inside already, your guards won't save you." The front gate groaned under another impact. Shots cracked in the night. Short, sharp bursts that made the windows tremble. David began to cry. Amara pulled him close. Her arms wrapped around his small frame like armor. "You're safe, my son. You're safe with me." But her own heart was lying. Jonah stepped closer. His presence was steady, solid, grounding. "Amara," he said again. "Listen to me. This is a trap. Staying here is death. Take your son and follow me. Now." The gate screamed. Metal bent. The lights outside flickered. "Stay here," one of the guards shouted, sprinting toward the door. "No." Jonah's voice cut like a blade. "They want her. If she stays, she dies." Another gunshot. Closer. Amara's mind was spinning. Guards she had trusted. Guards she had fed, housed, paid. But Jonah's words rang in her ears. Money buys bullets, but not hearts. Her son sobbed harder. Her choice tore through her like fire. Stay in the fortress, or flee with a homeless man. "David," she whispered, "hold my hand. We're leaving." Jonah nodded once. No smile. No relief. Just focus. "Good. This way." He pulled open the servants' exit. The smell of smoke and gunpowder rushed in. Shadows moved beyond the gate. Shouts. Footsteps. Death coming closer. Amara's heels scraped the stone as she hurried, dragging David with her. Jonah led, fast but precise, his head turning left, right, scanning every corner. Behind them, the main gate finally gave way with a roar. Armed men poured inside, black masks glinting under the floodlights. "Move!" Jonah hissed. They slipped into the narrow alley behind the mansion. The night air was thick, humid, wet with the scent of rain that never fell. David stumbled. Amara scooped him up, gown tearing against the wall. Her son's arms wrapped around her neck, his tears wetting her shoulder. Jonah glanced back. The shadows at the gate were spreading. Too many. Too fast. "Don't look back," he said. "Eyes forward." They reached a broken fence. Jonah pushed it open with his shoulder. The three of them squeezed through into a quiet street lined with abandoned shops. For a moment, silence. Only their breathing. Only their pounding hearts. Amara leaned against the wall, clutching her son. "Why, Jonah? Why is this happening? Who could?" Jonah cut her off. His voice was sharp, certain. "You're head of security. Kabiru Musa. He's the leak. He's the reason they knew where you'd be today. He's the reason they stormed your house tonight." Amara's stomach dropped. Her throat closed. "No," she whispered. "Kabiru. He's been with me for years. He's like family." Jonah's eyes were fire. "Family doesn't sell your life to the highest bidder." Her chest rose and fell, heavy with denial. With rage. With fear. "Jonah," she whispered, trembling, "if you're wrong, I'm not wrong, he said, his tone cutting, final. You hired him to protect you. But tonight, Amara, he sold you to your enemies. Her knees weakened. David whimpered in her arms. The world she built, the wealth, the walls, the guards, it all felt like sand slipping through her fingers. And the only man who hadn't failed her was the one with nothing to lose. The warehouse smelled of rust and dust. Iron walls. Broken windows. Shadows everywhere. It was the kind of place where secrets lived. The kind of place where blood could dry without questions. Amara Okoye sat inside a bulletproof SUV, her hands trembling on her lap. Her heart beat against her ribs, heavy as a drum. Beside her, Jonah Dyke sat calm. Too calm. Like a man who already expected death. You're sure? She whispered. Jonah's eyes never left the darkness outside. I'm sure. Word has already leaked. Kabiru will bring them here. And tonight, the truth will show its face. Amara's throat tightened. Kabiru Musa. Her head of security. The man she trusted with her son. If Jonah was right, tonight would strip away every last illusion. Headlights cut through the shadows. One SUV. Then another. Doors slammed. Heavy boots hit the ground. Masked men spilled out, rifles glinting under the broken floodlights. And there, at their center, stood Kabiru. Not in uniform. Not as her protector. But as her predator. Her chest squeezed. Betrayal had a face now. Kabiru's voice rang out, sharp, cruel. Bring her out. Now. Jonah stepped forward, ragged coat flapping in the night breeze. He looked smaller than the men, weaker than their weapons. But his voice came out steady. If you want her, Jonah said, you go through me. Kabiru sneered. You filthy beggar. You should have stayed under the bridge. He raised his gun. The barrel gleamed. But before his finger could squeeze, floodlights. The warehouse exploded with light. Dozens of plainclothes officers surged from the shadows, rifles raised, voices thunderous. Drop your weapons. Chaos ripped the night apart. Gunfire cracked. Echoes bouncing off the metal walls. Men shouted. Boots thundered. Amara ducked behind the SUV door, her heart rattling in her chest. Bullets sparked against steel. Jonah lunged. Straight at Kabiru. The gun slipped from Kabiru's hand as Jonah slammed into him. Both men crashed to the ground, fists flying, elbows striking. Kabiru was strong. Muscles thick from years of training. But Jonah fought like a man who had nothing left to lose. You betrayed her. Jonah roared, his fist slamming into Kabiru's jaw. Blood sprayed. Kabiru snarled, spitting. She was just another rich fool. Men like me, we don't give loyalty. We take what we can. Jonah's fist struck again. Harder. Fiercer. Years of pain, hunger, exile poured out in every blow. You don't sell family, Jonah growled. You don't sell trust. Kabiru swung back, catching Jonah's cheek. Jonah staggered, but his eyes burned hotter. He slammed his knee into Kabiru's chest, pinning him down. The gun clattered to the floor. Kabiru's breath rattled. One final strike. Jonah's fist met his jaw. Kabiru fell still. Around them, police swarmed the warehouse. Gunmen dropped their weapons, faces pressed into the dirt. The storm of bullets faded into silence. Amara stepped out of the SUV, heels crunching on broken glass. Her eyes locked on Jonah, blood on his lip, sweat pouring, chest heaving. He looked at her. For a moment, the chaos fell away. You saved me again, she whispered. Jonah shook his head. You don't owe me thanks. His voice was hoarse, raw. Just don't forget me. The DPO arrived, barking orders. Officers cuffed Kabiru, dragged away the surviving gunman. Reporters would spin the story by morning. Enemies would whisper. Rivals would circle. But none of it mattered to Amara. What mattered was this. The men who wanted her dead had failed. The guard she trusted most was unmasked. And the homeless man she once dismissed was the shield she never knew she needed. The cameras flashed. The microphones shouted. The world saw a woman unshaken. Amara Okoye stood tall at the signing of the Seagate deal. Dressed in gold, voice steady, she smiled for the world. To the headlines, she was untouchable. To the boardrooms, she was unstoppable. But inside she was thinking of one man. Not the billionaires shaking her hand. Not the rivals whispering in the shadows. She was thinking of Jonah Dyke. The man in the torn coat. The man who had nothing. The man who slapped her back to life. That evening, when the lights faded and the cameras died, Amara's black SUV rolled quietly toward the bridge. The same bridge where Jonah always sat, watching traffic like it was the only movie he could afford. She saw him before he saw her. Cross-legged. Head bowed. Hands empty. Forgotten again by the world. Amara stepped out. Her heels clicked against the rough concrete. Jonah looked up, startled. "Madam Okoye," he muttered, almost embarrassed. She shook her head. Her voice was soft. "Don't call me madam. Call me Amara." Jonah frowned. Confused. "Why would a woman like you?" "Because you saved me," she cut in. Her eyes glistened. "You risked your life for me. For my son. I can't let you stay here, Jonah. Not after everything." She reached into her handbag and pulled out a small set of keys. She pressed them into his rough, scarred hand. "This is yours," she said. "A house. A fresh start. And if you want it," her voice trembled, "a job. Chief of security. No one else has earned my trust like you." Jonah stared at the keys. His mouth opened. No words came. His eyes burned. "Why me?" he whispered. "You could hire anyone." Amara smiled faintly. "Because when the world turned its back on me, you slapped me back to life." Jonah laughed through his tears, shaking his head. "I slapped a billionaire. And she gave me a home. Who would believe that story?" Amara's answer was simple. "I would. And now, so will the world." Weeks later, newspapers carried a new headline. "Homeless man becomes hero." After saving billionaire CEO, Amara Okoye launches Foundation for the Forgotten. Cameras clicked again. But this time Jonah wasn't under a bridge. He stood beside Amara, chin high, suit crisp, Sunchinidu holding his hand. No longer invisible. No longer forgotten. The foundation was born that day. For the homeless. For the voiceless. For those the world tried to erase. And in the crowd, whispers spread. Not of scandal. Not of shame. But of admiration. The billionaire single mom. The homeless man. An unlikely pair. Bound by courage. Bound by trust. Bound by one unforgettable slap. Amara looked at Jonah. Jonah looked at Amara. And in their eyes was a truth too deep for words. Life would never be the same. For her. For him. For all who heard their story.